Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Sinusoid Pro Audio Couture. If you haven't bought a cable from them yet, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, I don't even care if you play guitar or any instrument. You just need their cables laying around your house, you know. They bring good luck. They really tie the room together. They've got a good look. You know, they're really going to balance out your feng shui.
Maybe you think their longer cables are too expensive for you? Just buy a patch cable.
Buy a patch cable. It's really going to bring the room together.
Sinusoid.com.
They make cables and smiles. Hey, this is Ryan.
And this is Steve, and you're listening to 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, money, fixing, breaking, review, playing, blah, 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 podcast.
You were almost there. It's like
I got too fast. I got too fast.
Let me do it. 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, fixing, modding, breaking, reviewing, playing podcast.
There you go.
I did it.
All right. Cool. Welcome to the episode. Ryan, what's new?
What's new? You dropped some pedals off here today that I'm going to do some videos with.
It's true.
This week. What'd you bring me, Steve?
I brought you a EHX Micro Pog.
Yep. I'm going to do a fun little video where I shoot that out against my Pitchfork and the Sub and Up Mini.
I think the Pitchfork versus the Micro Pog is one that I've had a lot of people ask, not even like ask necessarily for the video for, but ask about
opinions.
Oh, you have a Micro Pog? Have you ever tried out the Pitchfork? And then the other one is, I'm trying to remember, but does the Canyons have like a pitch function on it?
It does, but it's an octave delay. Like the repeats have an octave on it.
Well, because I feel like I remember somebody being like, "Oh yeah, you should run it against the Canyon," but I just thought that was kind of a weird.
Yeah, that's a weird suggestion.
Because
it's not on
comparison.
It's not on your unaffected signal. It's not like on your dry signal.
Right.
That doesn't have delay. It's just on the delay, which is a lot of fun, and it's a really nice pitch algorithm on there. That sounds really cool in my opinion. So maybe I will mess around with that. Maybe I'll throw that in for an extra special treat at the end. I don't know.
Delicious.
And then also you brought your Tonal Recall. That you got in a trade.
Yep.
It's the original blue knob, and I'm going to shoot it out against my red knob modded one. I've been having a lot of fun with the red knob modded Tonal Recall. I need to do a video of just it, but I'm looking forward to doing a comparison video between the two just to show off how much longer that delay gets with the red knob mod. I'd definitely say at this point that I'm glad I got the mod, and it's worth it to me. It was already a great sounding delay pedal with just dripping in features, and you give it longer delay time, and it just opens it up even more. I mean, it's just a killer, ridiculous pedal. I mean, I know they're expensive, but I think they're worth their weight in gold. Really, it's a pretty incredible pedal.
I wonder how much that pedal is worth if it was just a gold bar.
I was just turning a phrase. It would definitely be worth a lot more than what they cost. So you can take that little nugget there and be like, hey, at least it's not made out of gold, because then it'd be a lot more expensive.
There you go.
Anything else new we got to talk about?
That's all I got.
Oh, we got that new mod contest.
The mod contest.
We just announced that. Jump on our Facebook group or our Instagram to see the rules. This is going to be a long contest, but it has a set end date, which is great. The reason it's long is because we want to give people plenty of time to let their paint dry, to find all the parts they need to find. Geez. We don't even have prizes figured out yet. I think I want to make a trophy for it.
Okay.
As like the principal prize. Like this is like an honor competition.
Yeah.
Like this is like you want to like I'm the one who won 2018 mod contest.
Yeah, so looks like just hit the big bold rules. 1 guitar per contestant. Take a before picture. Mod any guitar any way you want. Send before and after pictures by January 31st to 60cyclehumcast@gmail.com. And celebrity judges will judge your submission by subjective criteria like, do I like this person or not?
Or did they use enough of my own products on this guitar? We don't even have celebrity judges picked yet. You know, we're gonna casually talking with people.
We're going to get Leon from Pelican Noise Works as one of the judges. And basically, so if you want your guitar to win, you need to buy a half horse and a Pelotar and install it into the body of the guitar. That's an instant winner.
What I'd really like to do is get a few parts companies to sponsor the whole thing by contributing like some gifts, whether that be gift cards or be not prizes, or be like pickup sets or something that people who enjoy modding guitars would enjoy winning.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Some like Stu Mac, Guitar Fetish, Warmoth, guys like that. If I could get them to sponsor it.
Fender.
That'd be awesome. If I could get Fender, then we're going to do other kinds of contests. I mean, we're going to do all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, if you guys have any connections with those kinds of companies, hit us up. Let us know.
Dylan Pickups.
Hey, maybe if Dylan wants to sponsor it.
Seymour Duncan.
See less Duncan.
See the same Duncan.
Can we start a rumor that Seymour Duncan is a euphemism for Seymour Wang? Seymour Dong, like Duncan is a euphemism for Dong. Like, hey, you guys seen more Duncan? Wink, wink.
I love me some Seymour Duncan, if you know what I'm saying.
We both had long work days, and I think we're going to be a little loopy on this episode. A little loose. We're a little loose this time. All right, so go check out the contest. Go start modding guitars, guys. Find yourself a $5 guitar on Craigslist and just go crazy on it. These things aren't going to be judged based on how playable they are, because we're not going to ship them to each judge. That would just be ridiculous. There would be like a $500 fee to enter the contest, and that's not fun because you'd have to ship it to like 5 different people all over the world. That's not cool. So it's all going to be on aesthetics and kind of like perceived, quality just based on the photos, So look it up. All right, let's get into the regular episode. Do we have any housekeeping?
We'll hit it later.
Okay, we'll hit the housekeeping later.
This first ad, it was sent to us by Paul Pennington. It's on Reverb. It's $1,750. It's a 1966 Mustang with a funky / natural refinish.
Natural?
Now, I realize that I think by natural, what they mean is that it wasn't like it was painted and then nobody bothered to sand it and clear coat it.
It means natural, and it's referencing an act of nature.
Yeah, I know. I actually don't think that's what I don't know. This 1966 Fender Mustang, Ryan didn't screenshot all of this for reasons that I don't understand.
Oh, it's because the person who emailed it to us sent the screen grabs. Paul Pennington.
The original Daphne Blue body has a natural refinish with a spectacular painting on the top of the body done with what appears to be acrylic paint. If this Cumstang isn't ... So Ryan and I have been thinking long and hard trying to come up with jokes for this.
Oh, gosh.
But so far, nothing seems to have risen to the top.
Well, the thing you need to know is is that this guitar is painted with a bunch of sperms all over it. Like, just a whole bunch of sperm all swim into the middle of the guitar, all trying to fertilize the pickguard and the bridge, basically.
Yeah.
I'd say it's suggestive, but it's like beyond suggestive. It's very literal, very sexual thing going on here.
It's a very confusing shape for an egg, I guess. There's like a Seymour Duncan replacement. There's a Seymour Duncan replacement pickup in the bridge. Nothing. Oh, is that I guess that's a Mastery bridge too.
Is it?
Yeah.
The photo's a little funky.
It's probably like the most valuable thing on this guitar at this point.
Oh, it is a Mastery. That's crazy. Well, it is a 66, but still, like, for the paint job on this thing, it just seems like, I don't know, man. You got to find the right buyer for this.
Yeah. So does this guitar...
You got to find someone who really loves sperm.
Yeah. Maybe if you have a friend who's a gynecologist.
Well, the gynecologist study is the other thing from the other type of people. What's the person who studies sperm? A proctologist?
A spermatologist.
Spermatologist?
A spermatozoist. A proctologist studies butts.
Well, they study the prostate, which you get to through the butt.
I guess. I don't know. Is that what it is? I've never been to one. I'm not that old. Are you that old?
No, I'm not.
All right. Geez.
I'm getting there, though, Steve.
I
don't know how old you have to be, but I know I'm closer every day.
I want to know how long ago this was refinished and like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like,
and by whom?
If this was done 2 years ago, I'm pissed. I'm like, why did you do this? If this was done even as recent as like the mid 90s, I'm like, I get it. I get it. You know, I get it. But if this was done recently, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? It probably was done in the 90s or the 80s or something like that. Late 80s to mid 90s is what I'm guessing based on like the colors and the look of it. It looks like something that would be on, album art for some awful grunge alternative band that didn't make it.
No, actually, that's what I was thinking. This reminds me of like somebody who was inspired by like Nirvana and just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You could say that they weren't the fastest swimmer.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Jeez. That was bad, dude. I think that was a missed connection there.
All I gotta say is if you're thinking about buying this guitar, relax. Don't do it.
I just feel like there's better guitars to blow your load of money on.
Very tired and very immature this episode.
All I can say is I would be worried that without the proper curing of the finish that it might stain your sheets.
Yeah. Or your pants. If this paint isn't set just right, it's gonna leave marks on your pants.
It can get everywhere. It can get all over the walls.
Yeah. If you have this guitar, people are going to accuse you of being a wanker even when you're not playing.
You know who would use this guitar is a Figrin D'An from Star Wars, the Cantina band, because the style of music that they play is called jizz.
Is it really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Is it really called jizz?
Yeah.
No.
That's a Star Wars fact. That is a Star Wars fact. The Cantina band.
That's called jizz?
That's the style.
Was that not a slang term in the late 70s when they made that?
I'm pretty sure it was. I think that was like, but that's the whole thing. It's like the term jazz. That's where it already came from.
Right.
But
it's science fiction. It's not like they have to. It's not like they're making it up. They don't have to like.
Yeah, they could call it anything.
They could call it anything. You could still take the J and the double Z and throw. You could call it jazz.
Jaws.
Jaws. Well, that sounds like a different movie. Jews sounds like a certain type of people, Steve. Like a whole race of them.
Oh, I got the worst joke. I could not tell it. No.
Oh, let's move on. This is terrible. Unless you've got any more slang, like ejaculation words to throw at this guitar.
I'm all out.
Would you play this guitar?
Done my best.
I'm not talking about would at church. I'm talking, would you play this guitar in like a bar band?
Gosh, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It actually is not that ugly. It's actually a decent look.
Yeah, I think...
I wouldn't pay that price, though.
No.
I think I'd be looking at... I think if I saw this locally, I'd be like, listen, what do you think, like, untouched value or, like, normal wear value is on these? Like, 16, 17 right now?
I don't know. That's the thing is I don't really have a pulse on the offset market right now.
Well, it's a 66. I want to cut 500 off of this.
For the finish or in
general? For the finish, just to start, I'd be like, the highest I can do is like $1,250. If this is a normal price for that year, that's just what I'm feeling right now. Because you could like strip the paint off and go to a natural finish and give it like a walnut stain, which is a very classy Mustang look. But that is work that you have to do.
A lot of people are trying to get like $2,000 to $3,000 for it.
Really? Maybe that's already a good price then.
But I'm not actually seeing a lot selling at that price. I'm not actually seeing a lot selling at all. So it looks like one did sell for $3,100, but it's like pristine.
Ever since getting that Squire Mustang, the Bullet, I've been thinking like, man, maybe I need to get a more legit Mustang. But then the thing that I love so much about the Bullet is that 12-inch radius neck, and you're just not going to get that on another Mustang. So it's been kind of like, I don't think I actually want a different Mustang. I just want another Mustang with a 12-inch radius.
Right. I think the thing with this guitar is, you take this to a show, and the real problem is if you're in a band to pick up chicks, they all like, you're telling them what you're all about.
Yeah.
Up front, and that's probably
you're all about sperm.
It's probably not the angle you want to go. Oh, I was just thinking about getting people impregnated.
Oh, well, it kind of goes both ways. Like, girls will look at it and be like, "Wow, he's trying to say that he's good at sperm," and then a certain type of guy is going to look at it and be like, "He looks like he likes sperm."
It goes both ways. AC/DC.
Yeah. And then all the straight guys are going to be like, I can relate to that. So it's really a guitar for the people. It's a guitar for everyone.
It's the Donald
except
Trump
for
of
lesbians.
Guitars.
Except for lesbians. This falls into irony department. Like if you're a lesbian, you're like, a sperm guitar. That's ironic. I really do think.
Wow, this is bad. All right.
It's really bad.
Moving forward.
This is going to be a good, bad episode where people are like, wow, that was really terrible. I loved listening to it.
So it came out this past week.
A lot of people made a big deal about this.
Bill Kelleher apparently left Gibson guitars for ESP.
This is a guy who's a guitarist for the band Mastodon.
Yeah, which I know I've heard Mastodon before, but...
Yeah, I can't. I think they're like a heavy kind of like metal-y, but kind of like fuzz bass kind of band, right? I can't remember quite what they sound like. Like they're gonna sound big. They're gonna sound big and fuzzy, like a Mastodon, right?
Yeah,
that's what they sound like. Obviously, we're really familiar with this band. So yeah, the guy apparently has made a big deal about leaving Gibson as being an endorsed artist or whatever, and he had like a signature guitar, and there's like a whole article about it, and other YouTubers are like making whole videos talking about it, trying to cash in.
But we're just gonna talk about it for like 10 minutes on the podcast.
I'm just saying I probably should have done a video.
Oh, Ryan.
Honestly, I honestly don't care that much. But Steve copped to me that before we recorded the episode that he didn't even read the article, so he doesn't even know what's up.
I just saw it, and actually, I think for me the most interesting part of the angle was just that a guy, like, usually when a guy leaves a company or when you see like an endorsed
artist, they try not to burn bridges.
No one really talks about it, or they just say like, I just don't really. Like I just wanted some things that they weren't willing to do or whatever, and it seems like this guy just came out and like, he says, I'm looking at the article right now, which is at least the one that I found is from Ultimate Guitar. I think you might have a different one.
I can't tell.
But he said that I never felt like I was really accepted at Gibson. The communication is terrible. I'm just going to paraphrase some of it. He didn't ask for a lot of things, but he told them that he didn't want it chambered, and they made the second one chambered.
Yeah.
The people that he worked with in A&R were all getting like fired left and right. So they would come in and like they just didn't know. Like the new guys would come in, but they wouldn't really know who the artist lineup was, or they didn't like. They would just basically he felt like he was having to like start all over with his artist rep, like.
Every time he like wrote someone.
Yeah, and it's like that's no way to build a relationship with an artist that you want to work with. He's one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting.
It just sounds like they weren't taking care of him, and he found a company that would take care of him. Another thing that I think I read in that same article was he was saying that like he had like a signature model,
right?
And people who were big fans of his band were writing him being like, hey, I bought your guitar. It didn't come set up to your tuning. How do I get that tuning?
Right.
And him just being like, hey, like these should be shipped like to my specs. They should have the gauge of strings that I use, and they should be tuned to what I tuned to.
Right.
It just makes sense.
And that's kind of one of the interesting things that he does mention in the article is that when he jumped to ESP, he says the guys at ESP, like, they wanted to know that stuff, like, what strings do you use? Or like, at least, like, what gauge strings do you use? Or, and they wanted to know about the tuning, and they wanted to know about these different things and what, the band was up to, and, like, things, like, beyond, like, how do we get your name on a guitar so we can sell more things?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of the brush that he paints Gibson with. So it's all kind of crazy. One of the other things he said is that James Hetfield from Metallica was a Gibson artist for a long time, who later also jumped to ESP, and I think is currently with ESP.
I mean, Gibson guitars
that's like a big influence there.
It's like the Metallica look as far as James Hetfield goes. Like a great big Explorer. Like that is James Hetfield. And to lose him is like a huge blunder on Gibson's part. If they couldn't take care of James Hetfield, like, who can they take care of?
Yeah. Now, Bill from Mastodon, he does say, like, basically his contract wasn't renewed.
Sure.
So it wasn't like he was like, I'm out of here, but he said that he did everything they ever asked him to. He sold all of their guitars. Like everything that, like, basically all of their signature models, like he was everything that I guess maybe that they asked him to personally sell, or the
it sounds like he would do like clinics and stuff too, which is crazy. Like so often we think like, oh, these big famous guys, they just get stuff thrown at them and that's it. Right. They just get stuff. No, this guy's doing work. He was doing work for Gibson, like doing clinics. Like that can't be fun most of the time,
right? And you kind of hopefully try to find ways to make that work where it's like, because I'm like Guitar Trader, a local store that no longer exists, used to do clinics all the time. And at least hopefully what they're doing is like, hey, you're doing a show in Los Angeles tonight. Can you do a morning clinic in San Diego? Like,
right.
Kind of deal, So you kind of work with the artist schedule. But either way, like it's extra work,
It's very real work that, over time, they get their worth out of their artists if they're having them do stuff like that.
Right.
Like that's real work that people are doing. So it's not just a situation where like, oh, you're famous, here's a bunch of free guitars, like sit down and shut up and don't complain. Like
seriously. Like
this guy was, he's, on the books as an employee basically.
Well,
and he didn't get taken care of.
I think a lot of these I think a lot of the artists that actually have not just an endorsement, but have a signature instrument, like are kind of like that with some of these companies.
I saw Annie Clark at the NAMM booth, a year ago. She was walking around. She's doing work.
Yeah,
they're just not sending her guitar. She's working with Ernie Ball to promote the product and to do appearances and to do all sorts of stuff. And I'm sure a lot of the time it's fun, but it is still work. Like that's real work, guys.
Yeah. Well,
because I think I'm on this kick because I saw people commenting on the article like, oh, he's getting free stuff. He just needs to like chill out and not worry about it. It's like, I don't think you understand what's going on here.
I would say even if you were getting free stuff, like it's not really the point.
I think if you're in Mastodon, you can probably just afford to get whatever guitar you want
the
made.
Point is that, a company wants to profit effectively. A company wants to profit off of your name.
Yeah.
And what you're saying to them is, let's work something out that's mutual. But if you want to profit off of, if you want to profit off of me, like if you want to make something that's going to represent me in your consumer space, then I want it to genuinely represent me. And
right.
It seemed like that was the source of a lot of his issues.
There's a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of artists out there that are just like, put my name on it. Just who cares? I'm sure, Adam Levine doesn't do any work pushing the First Act 222, I'm sure he just signed over his name. He's like, go do whatever you want.
He's got his name on the front of the thing.
I don't care. Just
going like this. I see him at Target all the time.
Give me the check. I'll just, I don't care what you do. No one thinks of me as a guitarist anyways.
Maybe he does. Maybe you go to, some city sometime and you're going to see a Adam Levine clinic for First Act.
I really doubt it. I really doubt it.
But I, that is kind of like, that is a thing with like representation is like, you can't just, you can't just put out I guess you can put out a product, and if it sucks, it sucks. I mean, I think about like the Keith Urban guitars on QVC that have replaced the Esteban guitars, and I kind of just assume because they're on QVC that they suck.
Right.
And I'm probably right.
We're probably pretty close to right, but they don't suck as hard as we want to joke that they suck.
Yeah.
But they probably suck.
But so that's a whole other set of issues. But the reality is it's like we've answered this question every once in a while, when someone sends in like, what would your signature guitar be? What would your signature bass be? And it's like, when I think about that question as just an average guy who has no stake in that game, who can kind of like just dream big and be like, oh, I would do this and that. Like, I'm still thinking like, no, if I had a signature guitar, like legitimately, like if a company like Fender or someone who did a Fender style guitar was like, we want to build you a Fender, a signature electric guitar, it would be a Telecaster shape. It would have a humbucker in the bridge. It would have a Strat style pickup in the neck.
Right.
Like that's what I feel like.
That's a Steve Rao signature.
Me. Like that is the guitar that I've called my number one for like the better part of the last 8-10 years, whatever. So that's what I would want. So if I requested that from a company, they're like, no, we're just going to throw a Telecaster set of pickups in it, whatever. Screw it. Like we don't even really want to do Telecaster. Like, we're just going to do a Strat and we're going to put your name on it. Yeah, I'm going to be like, well, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that I do. So, I don't know. I get where he's coming from. And I think to be like chippy about it and be like, oh, it's free stuff. Like, it's not the point.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a freaking signature pedal, Steve.
Yeah. And it represents only you.
We had input on that. Well, I had input on that. I guess I have a signature pedal.
I still haven't even played a DoD 250.
It has our logo on it. You still haven't played our podcast pedal yet.
Yeah, hello.
It's new in
box.
Trying to get that $5,050 for it.
No, only $450.
Listen, one guys, sold for $300. Listen, which is guys, nuts.
There is a pedal on Reverb called the Pelican Noiseworks 60 cycle hum 5050. It's currently being listed for $450. If you make an offer of $300, it will be sold to you.
If you want to own Steve's personal 5050 that he's never used, I use mine like permanently now. It doesn't leave my board.
I really should just like break down and set it up and make a video.
You probably should. Oh, I shipped out we had an extra one that we put out as a prize for the
raffle.
For that raffle. I shipped it out today.
Cool.
So if you listen to the show and you won that, it's on its way. I think the post office person told me it's going to show up on Monday, which is when this episode comes out. So congratulations.
Yep. Thanks
for supporting that cause. All right, let's move on to the next ad.
Yeah, this next ad was sent in by Bruce Kumquat.
That guy reminds me of another fruit person we used to know.
Jim Blueberry?
No. He doesn't remind me of Jim Blueberry at all.
Tom Tomato?
No, Steve. All right, let's
Paul Pepper?
So I don't even remember why I want to talk about this, but there's a Monopoly AC/DC set.
I remember why.
Monopoly makes like all these variations of the Monopoly game for whatever city you're in, whatever industry you're in, whatever niche thing you like. Oh, I remember what kind of angle I wanted to tackle. This one's for AC/DC, which is, guitar related, I guess, in a way.
I just want to know, so I have to assume that Back in Black and Thunderstruck are Boardwalk and Park Place?
Probably. I want to know what the jail square says. Do not pass go directly to hell.
Yeah. the go to jail, it just says go like highway to hell and sends you to hell.
Yeah. What are some other bands that would be good?
What are the railroads?
I don't know. What are some other bands that would be good Monopoly variations?
Oh my gosh.
Fleetwood Mac, go to jails, go your own way. You just stop playing the game because that's what everyone does halfway through the game anyways.
I was thinking Motorhead would be a good one.
Oh, I might buy a Motorhead Monopoly. The thing is, I think most of the people that buy these things, it's like you buy them as a gift for someone where you vaguely know their interests. And you're like, oh, here's a Monopoly game themed after something I think you like. And then they probably never get played. Right, so no one knows how they're actually different. And there's just some guy in the art department who pitched this idea and he gets to keep his job at Milton Bradley or whatever now. Because he makes new art all day.
6 collectible tokens. We can only see 5 of them.
There's the bell.
There's the bell. There's a lightning bolt. There's a cannon.
I don't know what the other thing is.
There's 2 more that I don't know what they are. I can't zoom in any further. I think it's dynamite.
Oh yeah.
What are some other bands? What would be? I don't know.
We should have thought this out before we pressed record.
Well, the thing you were talking about in the pre was that what if it was 60 cycle hum Monopoly?
Yeah. I'm sure they only print a couple boxes per thing.
There would only be 2 tokens. That's problem number 1.
No, there could be multiple tokens. I think the different Park Place and stuff like that would be named after Craigslist and eBay and Reverb.
Yeah,
you really want to get that Reverb monopoly going on because that's where the big bucks are.
I think the tokens would be a microphone.
Like a pedal, a guitar. Yeah, stuff like that. A pick. A pick is easy. A slide.
A turkey.
A turkey? What? Why a turkey?
I don't know.
Neither do I. That's why I'm asking you. You're the one who said it.
What would they go to jail be? No!
I don't know. You're laughing pretty hard.
Jail would be NAMM.
Oh my gosh.
It would be go to NAMM.
Go directly to NAMM.
Especially because NAMM is Thursday, Friday, I guess Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but in traditional Monopoly, you're in jail for a minimum of 3 turns. So it'd just be modified so you would go to NAMM for 4 turns.
Oh my gosh.
And then all the squares. I feel like all of the squares could be just different companies, but I feel like that's
they
too
could be
easy.
Our sponsors.
I feel like you'd have to have one that's you'd have to have a square that would be Bob Taylor's burritos.
A burrito would be one of the game pieces.
One of the game,
yeah, for sure.
And then you'd have to have a square that. I don't know. There's so
and
many
instead of
jokes.
going bankrupt, it just says inner circle, and you just get more money. I like this game. No, is that not how it works?
I don't think that's how that works.
Don't worry, the inner circle flipped the bill for you. You're not bankrupt no more.
No, I don't know, man. There's some real sideways directions we could go with.
There's some inside jokes.
I was gonna say so one of them so you have the 2 power grids. So one of them would just be Addisode.
Yeah.
Especially because with
how can we incorporate no horny dudes?
One of them, I guess one would be Ad Week and the other one would be NAMM Week, because you never know how many episodes you're gonna. Well, I guess an Ad Week.
Otter Day. Can we get an Otter Day?
An Otter Day
feature to the game.
Otter Day would be one of the railroads.
I haven't played Monopoly in so long. I don't even remember how it's played or what the pieces are.
I think the tax square would be either inner circle or sponsor spot.
Oh, okay, nice.
Pay 10% or $200, whichever is
Podbean fees.
Podbean fees. Yeah, speaking of Podbean fees, you owe me some money.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about it later.
All right.
All right. If you have some suggestions for 60 Cycle Hum Monopoly, let us know. 60cyclehumcast@gmail.com. And while we're on the topic of the inner circle, not really, but kind of sort of, we have some housekeeping to do. I'd like to welcome Brian Gower.
Welcome, Brian.
Who is a local guy.
Is he?
Who, when I saw his address, I just thought I should hand deliver this. But that's like a mess to schedule and maybe kind of weird.
It's a little creepy.
But
it also could be like Christmas, like.
But when I say local, like I'm saying like he lives in a part of town that I go to. I guess I haven't been there this week, but I go there all the time.
Right.
Like literally, it would be like I could tell Melissa like, "Hey, I'm going to the store," and on my way to the store, I could stop at his house. I'm stalking. That's not true.
Look out your window, Brian. If you see a guy with a beard and glasses, that's Steve.
It was just a street name that I recognize, and we know, Brian. We've played his music before. He's in the band Playing Without a Pilot.
Oh, cool.
That we played in episode.
Bring it up, Steve. You can find it. I believe in you.
Man, I thought it was sooner than this.
It was a while ago.
Episode 167.
That was a while ago, Steve.
Yeah, that was like
almost a year ago.
Gee.
No, dude, it's
only 30 episodes. It's less than 30.
Okay.
It's 25. It's like 6 months.
It's long
anyway,
time.
If you want to know about how you can support the show, head to 60cyclehumcast.com, click on support the show, and that'll tell you all the wonderful things that we do. We're like the Wizard of Oz over here.
Yeah.
All right. But it's great. And thanks to everyone in the Inner Circle who's contributed for, even if it's only a little bit of time, or anyone who contributes. Inner Circle, best friends.
Yeah.
$2.
We're talking about using some of that money to finance another run of 50/50s. Yep. That might happen sometime soon.
So, everyone who supports the show does mean a lot to us, and it helps us do things like make merch without dipping into our personal bank accounts, driving our wives insane.
Yeah.
And things like that. So again, thank you. It
also pays for travel to go to NAMM and things of that nature.
Thank you. And GitCon 2018. Someone asked if we were going to do GitCon 2018.
Oh, man, I don't know. That's a big chunk of travel right there. We'll see. If we even get invited.
Apparently, all we really needed to do to get invited was when it popped up to be like, hey, man, we want to go.
Yeah. I already knew that I couldn't go, though, because I had a vacation. So.
Yeah. I already knew that I couldn't go because I'm afraid to get on an airplane.
No, you're not.
Okay, that's true.
You've flown with me before.
I've flown. I love flying.
You were cool as a cucumber on that airplane.
I love
Steve
flying.
the whole time was like, I wish I was the one flying this plane. I'd do a barrel roll.
Yeah, girl.
Let's move on to the next topic.
I'm trying to find it. My phone ain't working no more. All right, this topic was sent in by somebody.
That's true, Steve.
This was from the Facebook group, and
we're stalling out, waiting for you to find it. Why can I not
find this? Oh, there it is. Quinn Waxman? I don't know. Signal chains. What do you use in front of your amp? And what do you put in an effects loop and why? Do you use them differently in a live versus recording environment? So actually, okay. I haven't owned an amp with an effects loop for a while, but when I did, I would run modulation stuff, so delays, flanges.
Now, did you use the tremolos. 4-cable method, the 5-cable method, or the 7-cable method?
Is there more than wait, what?
I'm just joking.
The 4-cable method is specific to pods, isn't it? Or no?
No.
I always think of that as a pod thing.
The 4-cable method is basically running a loop where you're running into your amp, then running a cable out your board to your board. I mean, you're running a cable out the loop to your board, then running the cable back into the loop.
Right.
Wait, is that a 3-cable method?
No, because the 4th cable is the cable from your pedal board to your amp. So you have one cable that's input.
Guitar to amp.
Effects loop is 2 cables, and then guitar to pedal board.
Oh, and then a section of your pedal board.
Pedal board to loop back to pedal board.
No, here because you're splitting parts. So your pedal board is part of it is going into the loop, and part of it isn't. So you're running into your pedal board, then out of part of your pedal board into the loop, then back to your pedal board. and then into the amp.
No.
Yes, that's the 4-cable method.
The 4-cable method is guitar to pedal board to amp, because the effects loop is after the preamp section of your amp. So technically you're going into the front end of the preamp, and then when you get to the end of the preamp, you have an effects send. That is cable number 3, and cable number 4 is the effects return.
Right, but I'm saying that the loop is still on your board, so you're having 3 cables come out in and out of your board.
You have 4 cables coming in and out of your board.
Well, you have your guitar. You have the cable coming out of your guitar, and then 3 more cables that are coming in and out of your board. That's the 4-cable method.
Yes, there are 4 cables total.
99% of guitarists use the 4-cable method.
So
that's not true, but that was an epic battle that went down on a group somewhere.
I haven't owned an amp with an effects loop actually in a super long time, but I was using an effects loop enough when I was. When I owned a Hot Rod Deluxe, that I considered building like a little patch box, which now if you get a custom made pedal board, they basically put that into it if you want it. But I don't have one of those.
Yeah. My Classic 50 has a loop.
Yeah. So basically the traditional method is to put, like I said, time-based delays, maybe some pitch delays, basically anything that you want after like
the overdrive.
Yeah. In your loop. Now, for most of the way that I set up my sound, it's kind of become unnecessary because I get most of my drive from drive pedals.
Yeah.
So effectively I run guitar into drive pedals, and I'm kind of using those drive pedals as like maybe a preamp if they're on. And then I go to my delays and whatever, and then into the front end of the amp, but I try to keep the amp clean.
So, my Ibanez has a loop in it, but it's only to bypass the Tube Screamer circuit.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of have that set up that way. But the idea is generally like if you're using an amp that has a second channel with gain, like a Hot Rod Deluxe or any of the plethora of multi-channel amps out there, the effects loop allows you to put effects in there that might get washed out.
Well, that are traditionally better after an overdrive because they like to affect the overdrive instead of like say you've got like a delay, you want to have those repeats after the overdrive because if you have it before, then each delay repeat is less volume, which means less gain. So you have this diminishing gain with each repeat, which can be a cool effect, but it's not a traditional sound where typically you want to have the delay repeat the signal at its full gain, if that makes sense. I imagine our audience is split on this, where there's a segment of it is like hasn't thought about loops ever.
I find that loops, like every once in a while I run into a situation where I'm like, I'm kind of pushing this amp a little harder than I like. I wish I had a loop. But for the most part, and I guess maybe this goes into the second part of clean versus recording or live versus recording. Sometimes I think with live, like especially when I'm playing guitar live, I tend to use more reverbs and whatever in place. I find that it's less important because honestly, my tone is kind of probably washier than it should be.
Right.
And so, and because of that, like it honestly doesn't really matter if I have an effects loop or not. But I feel like in a recording situation, I might be more sensitive to that. But though even in that case, I don't exactly know how I would set it up. The way that you could set it up, if you're really like wanting to get involved in the recording setup, is to take the pedals that you would normally put in your effects loop and actually plug them directly into the board.
Yeah, I guess.
And then you're actually adding those effects to the microphone. Not really to your guitar, but to the microphone sound. That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, you can.
And I know that's a thing that like
you can do things like that.
They're set up to do that, and the people do that. So I'm not totally crazy. Just mostly.
My favorite thing used to be to do with a loop. Back in the day when I had a PV Bandit 112, that had a loop in it. And it was one of the ones with the gray push buttons. So there's 2 gain channels on the PV Bandit. But if you get the push button variation instead of the slide switch variation, you can combine those 2 channels and get 3 different flavors.
Is that the auto mix function?
No, I'm talking about the Bandit here.
It
didn't have an auto mix function, but like you're just clicking 2 buttons in, and it's like you're doing both gains at the same time.
Oh, gotcha.
So I would use the distortion on the amp a lot, the built-in overdrive and distortion. So then you would use the loop to put effects after it. I had like a phaser, and I had a delay and things like that, and they were really fun to run the loop. But what was really fun is to put a 10-band EQ in the loop after the distortion. And you could shape that distortion to sound like almost anything.
Right.
Like you could get like high gain, like metal amp sounds. You could get mid pushed, like bluesy sounds out of it, like and everything in between. It was just a super effective way to use the loop just by putting a simple EQ in there that was, had more going on than the 3-band that it came with. I still kind of missed that setup just because it was so versatile. One day I'm going to pick up a Bandit again, I'm sure.
You've been saying that for a while.
I know. I kind of just need to do it. Maybe I should do that as the next journey in my 2017 amp journey. Revisit something I used to have, I just got to find the right Bandit. They don't come up on...
Time's running out, right?
They don't come up on Craigslist as much as they used to.
Yeah,
and when they do, they're like $200 now instead of $100. Like when I sold mine for $100.
Idiot.
Darn fool. I should have just kept it. That was back in the day when I was living at my parents' house and I was, strapped for space. I got a new big amp and I was like, I can't keep this old big amp around. I got to sell it. Which made sense then, but
way to go, idiot!
I should have kept it because I could have been like, "Oh, someday you're going to be an adult and you're going to have a house and you're going to want to fill it with amplifiers, you dummy."
Yeah,
your wife is going to love it.
Remember when we played at Clam of God and they just had this like crazy wall of speakers on one side?
I wish we had a picture of that so we could show the listeners why we call it Clam of God. Why the people who go there? It's a church. And it's just this really crazy construction where you feel like you are inside of a gigantic clam.
If you remind me, I'll grab a Google Street View of it.
Okay. Well, you got to get an inside shot.
Oh, I was just... Even from the outside, it looks like a clam.
Yeah, but the inside is where, like, you really get, like, the feeling of being inside of a clam. There might as well be a giant pearl, like a Batman-sized giant pearl. Like a Batman villain would be trying to steal it.
But they're sacrilegious.
We got a lot of interesting comments on my Bubbletron video the other day because I was talking about how I use it in church.
Oh yeah,
and people are like, I can't believe I'm hearing someone talk about church on my demo feed, on my YouTube feed. Like, I'm not proselytizing to you guys. I'm not trying to get you saved over here. I'm telling you how I use my gear.
How many people got saved off of that video, right?
Oh, at least 2,000. At least. So many people are saved now. I don't even think you have that many
views on that video.
No.
All right, this next ad is sent to us by screenshot-21.png.
All I know is that when I get to heaven, I'm going to be up there, and Jesus is going to be like, good job on that demo. You got a lot of people in the heaven with that demo talking about how you play at church. All right.
This is the world's first... Do you know where this came from?
I think I lifted this from Ugly Guitars.
Okay. The world's first self-strumming guitar, heavily modded 3/4 Squier Stratocaster. So first thing, they're asking 199 Great Britain pounds. I'm not sure what
I don't care how much it weighs.
I'm not sure what that's equal to. Oh, there it is, $264 US.
This is a crazy hack job.
So let's read.
You go ahead,
this
Steve.
is a Squier Stratocaster I ruined in the name of science. I fitted it with self-strumming mechanism I designed and built from scrap parts of a printer. To accommodate this mechanism, I've had to cut away some fairly large sections of the body to the point where I was concerned that there wasn't enough body left to counter the tension when it's strung up. For this reason, I bolted some pieces of metal box section in the back to give it back its strength. Also, because of the space the self-strum mechanism takes up, I've converted this from a 3-pickup guitar to a single pickup guitar with a volume control. The self-strum mechanism is powered by a 9-volt battery via a pulse width modulation driver circuit. Please bear in mind, this is a prototype and as such isn't finished nicely.
This does not represent the final design, obviously. It's just a prototype.
where I've been working on it. And while the self-strum mechanism works perfectly laying flat on the bench, it's a bit temperamental when the guitar is held in a playing position.
Oh, okay.
I can suggest a simple modification to the buyer to correct this, but it's not something I plan on doing myself, as I'm now busy working on the Mark II self-strumming guitar, the follow-up to this.
Hey, he's going to want to keep this prototype because this thing is going to just be fire. It's just going to take off.
Think of this piece as a piece of mechanical art rather than an instrument you would use every day. Putting all silliness aside, this thing with a bit more development could actually be useful one day to a person who has either lost the use of an arm. What?
I guess
this is being sold in British pounds, but I feel like this guy doesn't understand English.
Yeah, I mean, you can still, even if you're one-handed, you can tap and do pull-offs to play guitar. A lot of people who have lost, a portion of their arm, I've seen them play. They attach like a thing to their arm, and they can still strum and pick with it.
I'd like to sell this to fund further development into the concept. Although I have set the buy it now price high, I will entertain sensible offers. Just whatever you think it's worth, and you might get. Just offer whatever you think it's worth, and you might get unlucky. Blah, 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 shipping, whatever, amplifier in the pictures is not for sale. All right, so my first question out of the gate is actually, how much would you pay for this?
Well, here's my question before I answer that question. Can you set the tempo of the motor for the strum? Can you set it to strum at different speeds?
I cannot tell.
Because that would be useful, because then you can use it for multiple songs. Because otherwise, the way that I could see this being used is in like a very like experimental indie sort of way. You put it on an open tuning and you put it on stage and you just let it run, and it's running in time, and then you play something along to it.
And I think that would be interesting. I don't think it's interesting at $260, but I think it could be interesting at $150.
Here's the thing. He put a crap ton of work into this.
Yeah.
He's never getting his money back for the time invested into this guitar. He's just trying to cover, like, I want to get rid of this. I don't feel like I should give it away for free.
Right.
But the reality is that this thing has a value less than the original value of the Squire that he made it out of.
So you think because this was a 3/4 that you shouldn't offer anything above $100? Absolutely.
Like I like it's an art piece, but it's like its value only, it only holds its value for the person who has a connection to it. And until this is used in a setting where it creates a piece of music that is known and loved, or at least like is infamous in some way, like it doesn't have any value other than someone's home project.
Well, so I think that's I guess it doesn't necessarily have value as art, but if it works, I think that's interesting. Two, I couldn't imagine how to do this on my own. So I think that's part of where I feel like there might be some added value.
I'd like to see it working, because the way it is now, there's this bar under the strings that has 6 little, looks like plastic spikes coming up, connected to a rotor. And I just have trouble imagining that those little spikes hit the strings in a normal succession. Like, it's going to sound weird no matter what. It's not going to sound like someone's strumming a guitar.
Right.
It's going to sound like strings all being plucked almost at the same time. Or just the way that it's shaped, they might be like a slow strum where it's like plunk, 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 plunk,
Well, I guess I think that's where your conceptualization comes into play. Like if you have the thought of like, I'm going to put this in open tuning, like imagine if you're doing imagine if you're doing something that was like just an artistic, like weird off the wall. And this is where I say like maybe $150 as high.
Yeah.
I could imagine like Adam buying this, tuning it to an open tuning, and just letting it run for an entire Adams and Eve set.
Oh, sure.
and for like this weird, like kind of funky folk rock background.
You put a volume pedal in between this and the amp, and you swell it in and out as you need it.
Sure, there you go. There you go. It's an auto harpsichorded harp.
What would be interesting is if instead of a mechanical function, like a battery powered function on this, is if it had a hand crank on it, like a hurdy-gurdy. Is that what those things are called? A hurdy-gurdy?
I think so.
Like the box that you see in cartoons and they're cranking it and the monkey dances.
Oh, I don't know what that's called.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's an interesting piece for sure. I don't think I could bring myself to pay what he's asking for it. $100 is still be steep for me. If I had a project where I thought I could use it, I might pull the trigger on $100. But just to buy it as a curiosity, it's just going to be, transferring his junk to my junk pile.
Okay, well, sure.
That's my take on it.
That works.
Yeah. All right. You want to take us out with the song information?
Yeah. This song was sent to us. No, I don't. I want to talk about our sponsor. Thanks to our sponsor, Sinusoid Cables, Sinusoid Pro Audio Couture. If you're looking for one of the finest guitar cables on the market, look no further than sinusoid.com.
If you're looking for a cable to really brighten up your house, bring the whole thing together, absolutely, sinusoid.com. They're going to hook you up. The finest guitar cables for home furnishing.
That was weird. All right. This week's song is sent by Andy Phipps. We previously featured his band Casa Bonita on here. And he says, I'm back. He says, I'm back to thrust something more commercial into your big, strong, manly hands.
Whoa.
Apparently he's never seen my hands.
Steve, you have strong hands. Don't you belittle those hands.
All right.
You have good, strong hands, Steve.
Anyway, this song is called Friends with No Benefits. And it's a track off my new solo EP, his new solo EP, called The Loveland Frogman, which has just been released onto most music platforms, including Bandcamp. It's powered by a Silvertone Jupiter reissue, a Marshall, and a handful of nifty fuzz pedals. This is from Andy Duke Phipps. I think this is a guy who's on Instagram as Duke.
Oh, yeah?
Who comments on a ton of our stuff. So,
yeah, I always notice when he comments because the name is so great.
Yeah, so thanks, Andy, for the song. Everyone, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Talk to you next week.
Later.
I've written all these bad jokes, but missing out the punchlines. So all that's left is a setup that only sometimes rhymes. I've got a message for you without a return address. It only says that your workplace crush doesn't share. Sharing your interests. Not sure if I'm falling ill or just plain
I mean, every friendship should have some benefits, though, right? I'm not talking about like sexual benefits, but there should be like a benefit to having a friendship with someone. What do you think?
Is this going at the end of the show?
I don't know, man.
What was the question? I'm reading the email here.
Do you think every friendship should have some kind of benefits?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you feel like our friendship has benefits?
Yeah, this show, that's it.
You heard it, guys. Steve and I have benefits.
Friends benefits. It's a second Alanis Morissette reference this episode.
And the last one.